You ever get that strange heaviness in your chest, that feeling that something's off, but you can't explain why? You're an INFJ. Intuition is your compass. It's how you read between the lines, sense truth before it's spoken, and move through life like you already know what's coming. But when that inner signal goes quiet, everything starts to feel wrong, and you don't even notice at first. So today, let's talk about the 10 signs you're ignoring your intuition, and why the most intuitive personality type sometimes becomes its own worst enemy. Let's dive right in. All right, let's start with sign number 1. You rationalize everything. When you start ignoring your intuition, logic becomes your new religion. You tell yourself, I'm just being practical, I'm being realistic. But underneath that practicality is fear. The fear of being wrong, of trusting something you can't explain, so you overthink. You analyze every decision to death. You ask for opinions, make pros and cons lists, and search for evidence that your gut feeling was right, instead of simply trusting that it was. INFJs are masters of deep thinking. Your mind is designed to see every angle, to find meaning in chaos. But that same gift can become a trap. When you overanalyze what your intuition already told you, you end up convincing yourself out of what you knew all along. You replace instinct with reasoning and call it growth, when really it's self-doubt wearing a clever disguise. It's the moment you sense someone's energy feels off, but you think, maybe I'm overreacting. It's when you feel drawn toward an opportunity, yet you stall because it doesn't make sense on paper. That's what ignoring your intuition looks like. It's not denial, it's rationalization. The more you try to explain your gut feeling, the faster it slips through your fingers. This is where many INFJs get stuck. You've built your identity on being thoughtful and wise. So when your intuition says something illogical, it feels like betrayal. But your intuition was never meant to follow logic. It's meant to lead it. You were never supposed to choose between reason and intuition. The balance is knowing when the data stops and the knowing begins. The truth is, your intuition doesn't compete with intelligence. It completes it. Every time you override it to sound rational, you chip away at the very compass that makes you different. Rationalization is not clarity. It's hesitation, dressed as control. And the more you rely on it, the quieter that inner voice becomes. Until one day, you can't tell the difference between what you truly believe and what you've merely justified. And next up, you feel constantly tired but can't explain why. It's not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. It's deeper, the kind that seeps into your bones even after a full night's rest. You wake up already feeling behind, emotionally heavy, and disconnected from yourself. This exhaustion isn't physical. It's the cost of living out of alignment with what your intuition has been trying to tell you. When you ignore your intuition, you start moving against your natural rhythm. You say yes when you want to say no. You show up to things that don't resonate. You force yourself into environments, routines, and relationships that drain you. Every moment you betray your inner truth, your energy leaks. Quietly, invisibly, but constantly. INFJs feel everything. You absorb tension, emotion, and atmosphere like oxygen. But when your intuition is muted, you stop filtering what you take in. You carry energy that isn't yours. You give empathy to people who only take it. You overextend yourself because on some level you believe that helping others will ease the fatigue, but it doesn't. It amplifies it. You might even notice that your body starts to speak before your mind catches up. Headaches, tight shoulders, foggy thinking. Those are all signs of resistance. They're physical alarms that your internal world and your external choices are out of sync. You're fighting your own flow, and your body is losing. This is why that invisible fatigue feels endless. It's not burnout from doing too much. It's burnout from doing too much of what isn't right for you. Your intuition is trying to pull you back into alignment, but you're busy convincing yourself that you just need a vacation or another coffee. The truth is, rest won't restore you if you're resting in the wrong reality. Energy returns the moment you stop pretending you're okay and start acting on what you already know. The more you trust your intuition, the lighter your body feels. The fatigue fades, not because you finally slept enough, but because you finally stopped fighting yourself. Third on the list, you keep saying I don't know when you actually do. How many times have you said I don't know when deep down you absolutely did? You felt it. That quiet, certain pull inside you that whispered the truth before your mind caught up. But instead of trusting it, you hesitated. You pushed it down. You told yourself, I'm probably overthinking it, or I'll wait until I'm sure. That hesitation is one of the clearest signs you're ignoring your intuition. For an INFJ, I don't know rarely means lack of knowledge. It means fear. Fear of being wrong, fear of conflict, fear of standing alone in your truth. You often sense the answer instantly, but your mind jumps in to protect you from the possible consequences of being right. Because being right might mean making a difficult decision, setting a boundary, or walking away from something safe but misaligned. You've built your identity around being considerate, around seeing every side before you act. That's admirable. But sometimes it's a shield. It lets you delay the moment you have to trust yourself. You replay every angle, asking for more opinions, waiting for clarity. Yet clarity isn't the same as certainty. Clarity is knowing what's true. Certainty is needing everyone else to agree with it. Every time you say, I don't know, your intuition grows a little quieter. It stops trying to shout over your doubts. It waits. It learns that logic gets the microphone now. But here's the paradox. The longer you ignore it, the more lost you feel, and the more you keep saying those same three words. Think about the last time you faced a choice and couldn't decide. Somewhere in that moment, you did know. Maybe it was the tightness in your chest, or the way your mood changed when you thought about one of the options. That was your intuition speaking in its native language. Emotion, tension, resonance. You don't need more time to figure things out. You need more courage to admit what you already feel. Because deep down, you know who's right for you. You know what doesn't align. You know what you need to stop pretending isn't true. I don't know is rarely confusion. It's intuition, waiting for permission to be heard. And the moment you say, actually, I do know, that's when you start coming back to yourself. Fourthly, you're pleasing others to avoid inner conflict. You feel the tension before anyone says a word. You can sense disappointment, irritation, or discomfort hanging in the air. And your instinct is to fix it. So you smile, you soften your tone, you agree when you don't want to, and you sacrifice your peace to keep everyone else calm. On the surface, it looks like kindness. But what's really happening is that you're betraying your intuition to maintain harmony. As an INFJ, your empathy is powerful, almost supernatural. You read people's emotions like open books, and sometimes you confuse their feelings for your responsibility. When your intuition warns you that something doesn't feel right, you override it because you don't want to upset anyone. You tell yourself, it's not worth the conflict, or I'll deal with my feelings later. But later never comes. Every time you silence your gut to please someone else, you teach yourself that other people's comfort matters more than your truth. The danger is subtle. Over time, you start believing that peace means the absence of tension, when in reality, peace means alignment. You can't have harmony with others if you're in a quiet war with yourself. You start saying yes out of guilt instead of desire. You apologize for having boundaries. You pretend to be fine because the thought of confrontation makes your heart race. And yet every time you do, your intuition sighs, a little quieter, a little fainter, because it knows you've chosen safety over self-respect again. The psychological cost of people-pleasing is immense. You lose track of what you actually want. You start second-guessing every choice because you're filtering it through someone else's expectations. The irony? The very empathy that once made you feel connected now makes you feel trapped. You become the peacekeeper in everyone else's story, but a stranger in your own. Here's the truth. Intuition doesn't need everyone to agree with it to be valid. It only needs your permission to lead. The moment you stop filtering your instincts through the fear of rejection, you'll realize that true peace isn't found in making everyone else comfortable. It's found in honoring what your soul already knows is right. So next time you feel that subtle pressure to please, pause, listen. Ask yourself, am I choosing peace or am I choosing silence? Because your intuition can't protect you if you keep protecting everyone else from it. And fifthly, you numb intuitive signals with busyness. When you start ignoring your intuition, silence becomes uncomfortable, almost threatening, so you fill it. You keep yourself busy, always moving, always doing something. You scroll, you clean, you multitask, you chase productivity like it's oxygen, because if you stop, even for a second, you'll hear that quiet inner voice again, the one you've been avoiding. For an INFJ, busyness isn't always about ambition. It's often about avoidance. You tell yourself you're just being disciplined or staying productive, but what you're really doing is running from stillness, because stillness is where truth lives. Deep down, you sense something isn't right. A relationship feels off. A dream feels forgotten. But instead of facing that discomfort, you drown it in motion. You convince yourself that progress equals peace, even when it's just distraction. The mind of an INFJ is restless. It needs meaning, like lungs need air. But when you ignore your intuition, meaning gets replaced with noise. You fill your schedule with tasks that don't matter, conversations that drain you, goals that look good on paper, but feel empty in your chest. You become addicted to momentum, terrified that slowing down will force you to feel the things you've buried. But here's the paradox. The more you move, the further you drift from yourself. That's why, even after a productive day, you still feel that hollow ache, the one you can't quite name. It's not laziness you're fighting, it's avoidance. The avoidance of your own knowing. Your intuition doesn't shout, it whispers. And when you live in constant motion, you leave no room for whispers to be heard. Eventually, you'll realize that the exhaustion, the irritability, the emotional fog, they're not from doing too much. They're from ignoring too much. Every undone truth in your life weighs more than any to-do list ever could. The healing begins the moment you stop running. When you sit in silence, your mind will resist at first. It'll throw every thought, every worry, every excuse at you. But if you wait long enough, beneath all that noise, you'll hear it. That soft, familiar voice that's been waiting for your attention. The one that knows exactly what you need to do next. Stillness isn't the absence of progress. It's the space where real direction appears. You don't need more to do. You need more time to listen. Because every time you slow down, your intuition gets louder. And it's been trying to find you all along. Sixthly, you keep attracting the same painful lessons. You've probably noticed it. That strange pattern where the same kinds of people, jobs, or emotional situations keep showing up in your life, just wearing different faces. You tell yourself, this time will be different, but somehow it never is. You end up in the same emotional place again, drained, confused, wondering why the universe keeps putting you through this cycle. That's not bad luck. That's ignored intuition repeating itself. When you silence your inner voice, life turns into a feedback loop. The lesson you avoid becomes the one that keeps returning, louder each time. You sense the red flags. You feel the unease. You notice the déjà vu. And yet you rationalize it. You give the benefit of the doubt. You make excuses. You say, maybe I'm just being too sensitive. But deep down, you know. You always know. That quiet tension you dismiss is the echo of your own wisdom, trying to get your attention. As an INFJ, your intuition speaks through patterns. It's how you connect dots others don't even see. But when you ignore those patterns, they start controlling you instead of guiding you. You attract the same pain because it's familiar. And familiarity feels safer than change. It's easier to repeat what you know than to risk what you can't predict. The mind says, maybe this time I can fix it. While the soul whispers, you were never meant to repeat it. The repetition is not punishment. It's feedback. Every repeated situation is life handing you the same lesson wrapped in a new disguise, asking, will you listen this time? Maybe it's that friend who always takes but never gives. Maybe it's the job that drains your creativity. Maybe it's the relationship that feels exciting but leaves you empty. Until you act differently, until you trust your intuition instead of dismissing it, the lesson will keep looping. Here's the deeper truth. Your intuition doesn't get tired of warning you, it just gets quieter each time you ignore it. And when it finally stops whispering, the universe starts shouting. The fallout gets bigger. The emotions hit harder. Not because life is cruel, but because it's trying to wake you up. So if you keep finding yourself in the same story with different characters, pause. Ask yourself, what was I supposed to learn the first time I felt this? The moment you answer that honestly, the moment you stop negotiating with your intuition, the pattern breaks. You don't need to keep repeating the same pain to prove you can survive it. You've already survived it. The next chapter of your life begins the second you decide to trust that first instinct, the one that's been right every single time. Seventhly, logic tells you yes, but your body says no. You know that moment when everything looks right on paper, but something deep inside feels wrong? The numbers line up, the opportunity seems perfect, everyone around you says, go for it. And yet your stomach tightens. Your chest feels heavy. Your energy drops. That's not anxiety. That's your intuition speaking through your body, and you're ignoring it. INFJs have an extraordinary ability to rationalize discomfort. You can talk yourself into almost anything. The job that doesn't excite you, the relationship that drains you, the lifestyle that doesn't fit. You convince yourself that it makes sense, that it's mature, that it's the right thing to do. But here's the truth. Your intuition doesn't always speak in thoughts. Sometimes it speaks in sensations. When logic says yes and your body says no, your intuition has already voted. You just don't want to hear the result. Every time you override those signals, your body keeps the score. It tightens, tenses, or tires out, trying to get your attention. You feel it in subtle ways. A restless night, a persistent ache, sudden irritation you can't explain. You call it stress, but it's not stress, it's suppression. It's your body translating the intuition your mind refuses to acknowledge. The INFJ mind is powerful, almost too powerful. You crave understanding so deeply that you try to explain your way out of emotion. You tell yourself, if I can make it make sense, I can make it feel right. But intuition doesn't operate on logic. It operates on alignment. The longer you ignore what your body knows, the further you drift from your internal truth, until the signals grow so loud that they feel like anxiety, burnout, or depression. Think back to a time when something felt wrong, before you had any proof. Maybe you brushed it off as paranoia, only to realize later that your body was right all along. That's not coincidence. That's data from your deepest self. Your intuition lives in your nervous system. It notices shifts in energy, tone, and timing before your conscious mind ever catches up. So if you're feeling resistance that you can't explain, stop arguing with it. Your intuition doesn't owe you a spreadsheet. The evidence comes later. It always does. The discomfort you feel isn't trying to scare you, it's trying to save you. The next time your body says no, even when logic screams yes, listen. That instinct isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Your body remembers what your mind forgets, and it's been protecting you all along. Eighthly, you downplay synchronicities or coincidences. Lately, maybe you've noticed strange little patterns, repeating numbers on the clock, a song that plays right when you think of someone, a phrase that echoes something you just wrote in your journal. For a split second, it feels significant. Then, your logical mind cuts in. That's just coincidence. You brush it off, but a part of you knows better. Those patterns aren't random. They're reminders that your intuition is still trying to speak, even when you're not listening. INFJs are natural pattern seekers. You've always seen meaning where others see noise. But when you start ignoring your intuition, that gift turns into skepticism. You start dismissing synchronicities as wishful thinking. You convince yourself that noticing meaning is irrational, that you're being too woo-woo or overly sensitive. You trade wonder for control, forgetting that intuition thrives in mystery, not measurement. What you call coincidences are often your subconscious aligning dots faster than your logic can process. They're intuitive breadcrumbs, evidence that your inner world and outer world are still communicating. But when you stop acknowledging them, you silence the dialogue. You lose the sense of guidance that once felt like magic, like something bigger had your back. Think about it. Those moments that make you pause, they show up exactly when you're doubting your direction. A friend texts right when you're thinking of quitting something. A symbol reappears right when you're questioning a choice. That's not randomness. That's resonance. It's the universe, your subconscious, or whatever name you give it, mirroring back what you need to notice. But because you can't prove it, you dismiss it. You choose logic over alignment, control over connection. And slowly, your life starts to feel flat. Less alive, less guided, less meaningful. The intuitive spark that once helped you navigate life with confidence fades under the weight of constant doubt. INFJs need meaning the way lungs need air. Without it, everything feels dull and mechanical. When you downplay synchronicities, you're not rejecting superstition. You're rejecting your own sensitivity. You're cutting off the very sense that makes life feel vivid and interconnected. Here's the deeper truth. You don't have to believe every sign is a message from the universe. You just have to stay open to the possibility that some of them are. Because the moment you start paying attention again, you'll notice that your intuition never really left. It's been weaving patterns through your everyday life, waiting for you to stop calling them coincidences and start calling them communication. Ninthly, you feel disconnected from purpose, but don't know what changed. There comes a point when you wake up and realize that life looks fine, maybe even successful, but something inside feels hollow. You're showing up, doing what's expected, ticking boxes, but the spark is gone. The things that used to light you up now feel routine. You're not miserable, just numb. That quiet disconnection is one of the strongest signs you've been ignoring your intuition. For an INFJ, purpose isn't just a goal. It's an emotional frequency, a sense of alignment between what you do and what you know you're meant to do. When that connection fades, it's not because you've lost direction. It's because you've drifted away from your inner compass. You've made choices that made sense to everyone else but didn't feel right to you. Slowly, you traded fulfillment for approval, passion for stability, authenticity for predictability. It happens subtly. You start saying things like, "I should be grateful," or "This is just what adult life is." You tell yourself it's normal to feel uninspired, to feel like every day blends into the next. But deep down, your intuition is restless. It's whispering, "This isn't it." It's asking you to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. When INFJs ignore that whisper, they disconnect from purpose, not because they failed, but because they've stopped listening to what their soul needs. That's why the emptiness feels so strange. It's not depression, it's misalignment. You're living in a version of yourself that no longer fits. Your intuition has always been the bridge between meaning and action. It's what turns dreams into direction. But when you silence it, you lose that sense of inner gravity, that feeling of knowing why you're here. Without that, even success feels empty. The good news is that your intuition never stops reaching for you. Every wave of dissatisfaction, every ache of there has to be more, is not failure. It's a flare from your inner self, guiding you back home. You don't have to throw your life away to reconnect with purpose. You just have to get quiet enough to ask, what did I stop doing that used to make me feel alive? Because purpose isn't something you find, it's something you remember. And the moment you honor that remembering, the spark returns. Not as a flash, but as a steady light that keeps you aligned with who you were always meant to be. Last but not least, you're waiting for permission to trust yourself again. You already know the truth. Somewhere inside you, beneath the noise, beneath the logic, beneath everyone else's opinions. You've known it for a while, but you keep waiting. Waiting for confirmation, waiting for proof, waiting for someone else to tell you that your intuition is valid, that you're not overreacting, that you're not crazy, that it's safe to trust yourself again. This is the quiet tragedy of the INFJ. You can sense truth so clearly in others, yet doubt it so deeply in yourself. You'll see red flags in a relationship before anyone else does, but you'll stay, hoping you're just being too sensitive. You'll feel when it's time to move on from a job, a friendship, a phase of life. But you'll stay longer telling yourself, what if I'm wrong? The irony is that the moment you ask that question, you've already answered it. You wouldn't be asking if you didn't already know. You were born with an internal compass that's frighteningly accurate, but over the years, life teaches you to second guess it. You were told to be reasonable, to wait your turn, to not make waves. So you started mistaking hesitation for humility. You started outsourcing your intuition to logic, to experts, to authority figures, to people who could never possibly feel what you feel. And every time you asked for permission to be yourself, your inner voice went a little quieter. But intuition doesn't die. It waits. It lingers patiently beneath your fears, whispering, I'm still here. I still know. And that's what makes this sign so powerful. Because once you realize you've been waiting for permission, you see that the only person who can give it is you. You don't need another sign from the universe. You don't need someone to validate your instincts. You've had all the evidence you'll ever need. Every time your gut screamed no, and you ignored it. And life proved you right, anyway. Every moment your heart said yes, and you hesitated until the opportunity disappeared. Those weren't coincidences. Those were lessons in trust. Here's the truth most INFJs don't want to admit. Trusting your intuition will cost you something. You might lose people who preferred you uncertain. You might outgrow roles that once made you feel safe. But what you gain is worth everything. Peace, clarity, authenticity, the feeling of finally coming home to yourself. So stop waiting for permission. No one else can hand you the authority to trust what's already yours. The next time you feel that quiet knowing rise up inside you, don't smother it with logic. Don't wait for signs. Don't ask if it's okay. Just listen and move, because your intuition isn't trying to control you. It's trying to free you. And deep down, you've always known exactly where it's been leading you. If any of these signs resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your experiences. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more INFJ insights, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next.